Hey fiber friends, welcome to episode 16 of the For Knit Sakes channel. My name is Allison and I'm coming to you from El Paso, Texas. I am a military spouse and we are currently stationed here, and I live with my husband Jonathan, my two sons Levi and Oliver, and our fur baby Lucy, who is a Boston Terrier. This is a knitting podcast mainly with a little bit of sewing, crochet, other crafty things. Like this week we did perler beads for Halloween and stuff like that. If you're a new viewer just stumbling onto my channel, thank you so much for checking me out. I hope you like what you see. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for stopping by. It's been 2 weeks since I filmed a regular episode. I did a little mini-sode of just what had been in my mailbox last week because I had a lot of yarn show up between a Knit Picks order and my fiber share package. So I shared all of that so I wouldn't be taking up time this week to do it, but I have a lot to show today. I've had a little bit of cast-on-itis and I have finished a lot of projects in the last 2 weeks. And so I'm happy to share with you and hopefully inspire you guys to make some new and fun knit pieces, since everything was knit except for one is a crochet blanket for Project Linus. So we're gonna do our writing prompt for this week, and it's where would you be pleased to find yourself locked up overnight? And you would think my first answer would be a yarn shop, but it actually wasn't, and my choice is a library because I really enjoy looking at books and a lot of quiet knitting time. I can go look at the books at my own pace. I don't have to worry about following the kids around in the kids section and everything. And so I would really like to be locked up overnight in the library. But one thing is I would need something like a radio or some way to play music just so it wouldn't be super quiet. I do like quiet, but if it's silent, then it just gets a little spooky in my opinion. So I need to have some sort of white noise or a radio or something going on in the background in order to not feel like something's gonna get me. So that would be my only thing. So where would you like to be locked up overnight? I'm sure a bunch of fun answers would come out of that question. So I have a lot of finished objects, a lot of new works in progress, a few old works in progress. So I'm going to start with my first one that I'm really proud to be done with, and I posted it on Instagram the other day, is my exploration station made from my recycled yarn that I got from a thrift store sweater that only cost me a little less than $4 with tax, and the dye cost me $9. And I still have a lot of the dyed yarn left. I dyed 100 gram skeins, 3 100 gram skeins, and I left one like 84 gram skein as the natural color of the sweater. And I still have a lot left. I haven't weighed it just to see how much I used completely, but it's finished. It's very large. This is my second exploration station that I have made in the last year. I did do a shorter border section. You're supposed to do 6 repeats, I think, of the chevrons, and I only did 4. No, you're supposed to do 8, so I did half the amount. But I like the shorter one. All of its beautifulness. So I just bought a tulip dye kit at Walmart, and I just bought a 3 set that came with the purple, the teal, and this lime green color. And then the blue right here is the natural color of the sweater. I didn't wash it yet. I wanted to wear it, so I wove in all the ends and started wearing it because it's cold at the bus stop in the mornings. But I do need to wash it. I'm a little worried about the blue and the purple bleeding a little bit. So it just might take a really quick bath in the sink, and then I'll set it on the sweater insert that we have for the dryer, so it won't be rolling around a whole lot, and dry it that way. So if you're looking for a beginning, I think this is a good beginner project if you're wanting to do short rows, and the eyelets are really easy. The brioche section is very straightforward. You're doing all of your increases on the sides, and Stephen West has one tutorial for the brioche section on his channel, and he also has a tutorial for doing the short row section, so how to start it. So if you're confused on how to start it up here, and how to do the short rows. You just watch those little videos and they are very self-explanatory on how to do it. I would definitely recommend this to somebody who's wanting to expand their skills a little bit. And I think it's a relatively fast knit. The last couple sections are marathon knitting sessions, just because there's so many stitches on the needles. And the I-cord bind off, I think, took me 2 hours, just because it's very involved, but it just makes it look so nice on the end. And you can see my dye job's not perfect. So the purple, when I dyed it the skein, I was having to kind of smush the fiber just to make sure that all of the yarn took up all the dye. So I did get some sections that were lighter than others, but I think it looks really nice. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with the leftovers. This shawl is also very large, so you can see it takes up a lot of space. It's nice and cozy, and because it's cotton yarn, it feels like a pair of broken in jeans, like those nice vintagey ones that you've owned for a really long time. So might not be the warmest thing because there's no wool in it, but it's nice and cozy and it's done. I noticed a little thread sticking up right here. I have to take care of that. So my second exploration station in a year. I finished my first one a year ago today. It showed up in my Facebook memories. Maybe I'll take a little side by side. So Stephen West Exploration Station, that is done. Now the next one is another neck accessory that I made for my husband. I showed this before, and it is the Brioche Bandana Cowl by Lavanya Patricella. And this is the fingering weight version. And this is actually the wrong side. When I knit it, this is what it looked like when I knit it. And this is some Dream and Jilly smushy yarn. I don't remember now, but it's a 10th anniversary special colorway that I picked up at a shop in San Antonio, and the navy blue is some Knit Pick Stroll, the kettle dyed Inverness, I believe is the colorway, but I like it. My husband really enjoys wearing it because it is reversible. I did block it so it would stretch a little bit more. Put it on my head, mess up my hair. I'm about due for a haircut soon. I have a lot of party in the back going on with my short hair. So this is the way he likes to wear it. I think he likes it both ways. And I think it looks fairly similar depending on the way that you wear it. But I think he likes the wrong way better. And you can tell which way is the wrong way by the way the stitches look on the decrease section. And that was one thing that did confuse me, because you're supposed to slip stitches at the end of 2 of the rows when you're working flat and back and forth, and so it was a confusing of whether you slipped with the yarn in the front or the yarn in the back. And I think I figured it out, but you do see this carrying of the yarn when it goes on to the next row, but you don't see it on the other side. So I don't know if I did it wrong, but my husband didn't notice. And you might also be able to see I somehow got rid of a whole spine at some point before I was supposed to. I don't know how I did it. I noticed it at some point, but you can't really see it unless you're looking super closely. Right here. This spine's supposed to go down here. So, but it's in the back. It's kind of smushed when you wear it, so it's not going to bother me. I'm not big on fixing mistakes unless it's like a gigantic hole somewhere. But he really likes it, and I'm going to make myself one using a different colored yarn, but with the same navy blue Knit Pick Stroll. So, it's done. I'm a little over brioche after this and the brioche section in the exploration station. The next 3 things are socks. I'm just going to show them super quick because now I have 2 finished pairs and 1 almost finished pair. So these are Levi's Felici Punch Bug Vanilla socks and some Knit Pick Stroll for the toes. He wanted the purple, whoops, even though it's very close to these, but not quite. He really wanted purple toes. So, well, fuchsia toes. So he got his toes. They match pretty close. They're like maybe one row off in color. But these were done on size 0s with 56 stitches, 2x2 cuff, regular wedge toe, decrease every other round until I got to 8, Kitchener finish on the bottom. And then I finished my mother's blueberry waffle socks. These are sport weight, so it was 48 stitches on a size 2 needle and a short row heel down to 8 stitches on the outsides and the middle, and then every other row decrease until 14, and then every row decrease until 8. Because her foot is smaller than mine, I have a 7.5, no, she has a 7.5 size foot. I have a 9.5 size foot. So I made it, they don't quite fit on my sock blockers, so I'm hoping that they will fit her well. We'll see. And it's also cotton acrylic blend instead of a wool blend, so I know that they're going to stretch and they won't quite bounce back like wool does, but she has a wool sensitivity, so I didn't want to risk it, so I didn't do it. Now the next pair of socks are almost finished. I have to put in a heel. I don't know why it's taking me so long, because I could do them 2 at a time and then be done. But they are my dad's Regia socks. This is Arabesque colorway set in the color blues. They don't match because I like to use up all the yarn, and I feel it's kind of wasteful to wind off until like they would match, because then I would only have maybe like 3 grams or something. So his were done 68 stitches on a size 1 needle. I think 60 rows for the leg, 65 rows for the foot. Then I switched to just some navy blue yarn in my stash to do the toe. And I think I'm going to do navy blue heels. And so they're afterthought heels, not true ones. So I did my waist yarn and I did a lifeline on the top and the bottom to make it easier to pick up stitches. So I waited until October to do these because October is Socktober. And so I waited. I think these were all half finished objects before October started, and then I finished them for the month of October. These just need some heels. I just have to get on it. The needles are free, so I just have to do it. They aren't those needles though. So those are, I did a lot of finished objects in the last 2 weeks. So they all look nice and pretty and they're all ready to go. When I'm done with the gifts, I'll wrap them up and have them ready for my family is coming to visit in November, and I will have theirs ready along with the shawl for my mother. And I'm thinking of maybe knitting up something quick for my dad that's not socks. And maybe a hat. I'm not really quite sure yet. So I'm really happy that all of those are done. Now, I had a lot of cast-on-itis, so I cast on a lot of new things, and then I think these are all new things, and I still haven't even touched my tote folded bag. So I started some socks for, sorry, my phone said it had low battery, I better hurry up. I started some socks for Oliver, and he chose a Regia Arabesque colorway as well. So I'm doing tube socks for him, just like Levi. And I did a long cuff, I think these are 25 rows, and I did twisted rib. And then I'm doing Mina Phillips pebble socks, but on the rows where you do the textured pattern, I'm twisting all the knit stitches. I don't think I'm giving away anything in the pattern if you don't own it. So it's just a really easy 4-row repeat, and it just gives it a little bit more texture in the front. The back is still vanilla. Since they're tube socks, there won't be a heel to differentiate between the leg and the foot. So I'm gonna do, I think Levi's socks were like 76 stitches until I did the toe, and then I'm probably gonna find some sort of coordinating, or maybe not coordinating, mini to do the toes. So I started his with size 1 needles and did 56 stitches because the Felici tube socks that I made for Levi were fitting his feet really well. But Regia is a little thicker than Felici. Felici's kind of a light fingering, so I had to switch to size 0s for the foot, or for the leg/foot, and I reduced down to 52 stitches So they're going to be a little big on him. He can still wear them around the house. They'll be a little slouchy, and then he'll grow into them as he gets a little older, because I can fit the cuff around my heel. So I've joked with my husband that I could wear them. So I had gotten like maybe one more repeat up when I had them on size 1s and found out they were just too big. So then I ripped back all the way to where this marker is, where I started the leg part, and switched to size 0s. These are just some Lana Grossa needles I picked up. The cord isn't so great. It kind of flops around similar to the Hiya cords, but it'll work for this pair of socks for right now. And this is what his yarn looks like in the cake. I like it a lot. I like the little pops of the lime green stripe in there. It makes them look a little bit more bright than if it were just to be like this olivey green and then the blues, and then this is going to be kind of mottled. You can see it on this side a little better. They're not defined stripes. They're kind of mixed all together. And then it'll go back to regular stripes, and then this will just be kind of all mixed up while I'm knitting it. So those are socks for Oliver. And then I cast on a pair of socks for myself, and it's living in my fiber share bag that I got from my partner, Ryan. She sent me a little skein in the big wool coffee themed bag. And this is just something I wanted to do some more helix knitting, which finding out the socks that I did before with the 2 different colored yarns with the Patton's wool and the Noro sock yarn, that was helix knitting, and I just didn't realize that it had a name for it. I was just alternating skeins of 2 different sock yarns. So I started the toe in some Knit Pick Stroll, and I just started alternating 2 different commercially striped yarns that Caitlin from the Wool Jewel had given me when we did a little fiber swap, and I sent her a whole bunch of minis. I had started these on size 1.5 and worked up to 56 stitches, but I started using my Carbons Knitter's Pride brand, and the join between the metal and the carbon, the wood part, was so annoying. I kept catching it whenever I would go into the stitch, and I need to message them, or if anybody else owns Knitter's Pride Carbons, is the join supposed to be like that? Is it supposed to like have a definite like thunk? Like if I run my fingernail over it, it definitely has that click sound to it. So I switched to my Hayas, and I'm gonna try on this sock when I get to like the heel area and see if it's going to be too small, because I usually do 60 stitches on a size 0 needle, so I'm hoping with the size 1s that 56 will be okay. But these are wound up into 2 even size balls. So this one has like browns, blues, creams, little specks of black. There's like a little patterning section, and this one is all blues, greens, and a little bit of like charcoal gray. So they're similar, but different. They're cousins. We'll just call them cousins. And then I had planned on doing the heel in this color, and then doing the brown that I used for the toe. I think it's basalt heather. Yeah. For a really long cuff. I might make these into tube socks too, just because then they would be easy socks. I don't have to worry so much about the fit. It'll be a little loose on the instep of my foot, but then I could just keep knitting around and around and around. And so if you're interested in helix knitting, I would recommend the Sockmaticians tutorial. You're basically just chasing. You just don't twist the yarns on top of each other. You just pick up the yarn from the previous row and then knit around with that one, as long as you're just not twisting, because then you don't have a join. Let's see, where is, because I'm in between, this is the front, so this would be my beginning row. So then you don't have that jog. It just kind of keeps spiraling around. And it's easy, it's fun, just a plain vanilla sock. I'm not doing anything fancy. So that was my second sock cast on. Now I know it's Socktober, so I'm mainly knitting with sock weight yarn. So, excuse me while I bend over to pick up my next one. I got a sock blank from my Fibershare partner, and I decided I wanted to knit the sock head cowl. I don't remember who wrote it. The patterns are all the way over there. but it's the same person who did the sock head hat, where you knit a very large brim 2x2 rib, knit stockinette until you get to the decreases, and it's a nice slouchy hat. So this is just the cowl version. I'm only like 1.5 inches into the ribbing. So this is what the sock blank looks like. Blues, greens, purples, and some pops of yellow, a little bit of white space, but not a lot. And this is how it's knitting up. It'll look a little better after it has been blocked, or at least soaked a little bit. There's all these carpet fibers everywhere. And then I'm kind of noticing a little bit of striping going on. I'll be interested to see what it's going to look like when I get to the stockinette version, or stockinette part. But I have about 2.5 more inches of ribbing to do before I get to that. And then I have to end with 4 inches of ribbing. Why did I choose that? Because I really liked the cowl. I saw it on Stranded Dye Works, Amy Florence's podcast, that she was wearing one in last week's episode, and I really wanted to make one. So I decided to do it with my sock blank because it's so pretty. I didn't want it to be socks and be on my feet. I wanted it to be something that I could wear. So that's why I decided to do this. And I totally overestimated for my cast on, and I have all of this left over. But I don't want to cut it, because then what if I end up frogging it and then I need this little teeny tiny piece of yarn? That's the way my brain works. I need every single teeny tiny piece. So that's the sock head cowl, a new cast on. I haven't worked on it for a couple days because I cast on my eyeball shawl by Stephen West. And I am to the iris, and I am, as I tell my friends, marathon knitting these last, 17 rows of the iris. The middle is this palette that's up here, and it's just on hold until I get back to it for the brioche. So this is what it looks like. It's all smushed up on the needles right now because I only have a 40-inch circular for my chiaogus. I don't have a longer cord. And this variegated is Perrette Vola, and I am alternating the inside and the outside so I didn't get any spiraling or pooling in the iris. And I really love this. This was given to me, I was in a sock swap with some friends on an internet Facebook group, and she sent me deconstructed socks. So she sent me 2 skeins of Perrette Vola yarn instead of sending me socks. There is a little bit of pooling going on, like right here is this huge kind of dark purple stripe there, but I like how it's kind of breaking up everything so it's not super defined. Like I said, it's kind of hard to see. I don't want to drop any stitches or anything. Like there's this fuchsia stripe kind of running this way, but I'm really excited. And then the sclera is going to be this pink right here. I'm nowhere close to getting to that part though. I'm hoping to have it finished by Halloween. Crossing my fingers. I'm just trying not to do all the knitting on this, but it's really fun. Just have to figure out how to pick up all the stitches and stuff for the next section. So that will hopefully be done soon. 2 more new cast-ons, and you can see the 2 balls of yarn that used to be on my yarn wall are now gone. They're the hand-dyed skeins that, or hand-painted skeins that Levi and Oliver did with me, and they wanted hats out of them. So it has gotten cold enough in the mornings on some days, like low 50s, where Levi and Oliver like to wear hats to the bus stop. Granted, they don't wear them by the end of the day because it's upper 80s by the time Levi gets off the bus stop, but they wanted me to make them hats. So I cast on the Barley hat for Oliver and the Windshift hat by Stephen West for Levi. I gotta bend over to pick them up. Hold on. So, of course I left the hat. I got the cake, but not the hat. So I've been working on these just since yesterday, so I pretty much just cast them on. I had to do a couple needle shuffling to move around cords and fixing all that. So Levi did the purple and blue skein, and this is Cascade 220, the non-superwash variety. And we just dyed them with sponge tip paintbrushes on just the bare skeins, and then I baked them in the oven at a really low temperature. So his is turning out like this. It's a twisted rib on the bottom, and then you have a stockinette, and then this panel here. It's very similar to the Barley hat where it just has this small section of texture, but his spirals up the hat instead of just having the one panel going up. The Barley pattern is free, the wind shift pattern is not. The wind shift pattern also comes with a coordinating cowl, and I've already knit this before, but Levi's is turning out with a lot more purple than I thought it would. I thought his skein had a lot more blue in it. He still loves it, so if he doesn't wear it, I'm gonna end up wearing it. And then Oliver's was mainly greens and blues. There's a little bit of purple I had managed to get on the skein at some point. So there's kind of like this little muddled purpley part. There's another spot right there that you can see. But his is just the Barley hat by Tin Can Knits. And I've done a little bit more on his. I watched a adorable little friend of mine baby this morning, so she was napping and I got to knit on this hat. So 1x1 rib on the bottom, and then this garter stitch panel here, and the other side has this stockinette. I really like how his is turning out, and if he ever wears it in a crowd, I won't lose him, which will be fantastic. So that's one thing about the Wilton cake dye, the frosting dyes that come in the little gel pots. It's very bright. So I haven't tried to darken up the dye at all. I'm worried if I try to add black to it that the black would be overpowering and then it would just be black dye instead of like a dark green or a dark blue or dark purple. But I haven't tried recently. You can kind of see the little flecks of where the purple dye got in, right here, right here. But he likes it so far. I hope they wear it. I knit them things and then they don't seem to wear them, and it makes me a little bummed that that happens all the time. So I'm hoping that they'll wear these, because I finished Levi's Felici socks and he's only worn them once. My husband keeps reminding me he's only 6 years old and he's particular about certain things, but if they keep not wearing them, then I'm not going to make them anymore. So those are all of my works in progress. Hopefully I will have some of them finished by the next time I podcast. I'm going to put these up here. And none of these are living in bags except for those socks, my Helix knitting socks, because I like to change projects throughout the day. So then I usually just leave them like this. I stick the needles in the cakes and I leave them out and I pull it out and I work on whatever I want to work on and then I put them down. So it's a little messy that way, but we'll see. And then I have a lot of plans for Socktober, so I'm going to show those real quick. I have just my needles hanging out. I have tube socks for my nieces, and I've already caked up the yarn. There's this Captain Nemo Felici yarn, and I'm going to do, I think this is Dog something Heather knit pick stroll for the toes and the cuffs, so I can hopefully get some longer tube socks for them. Needles ready and waiting for them. And then I want to do another pair of sport weight socks for myself. I think these are them. Yes. And I did some fidget socks earlier this year, so I'm going to do some sport weight socks. I have like 84 grams of this stuff left over. So the shorty socks didn't take a whole lot of yardage, so I'm just going to knit all the way up. And then for these, I plan to do a true afterthought heel where you snip your knitting and knit the heel in. I just need to find some coordinating yarn to do the heel in, because I want to knit this all the way up until I'm out of yarn. And then I have one more bag and I don't remember what I put in here, so we'll see. Oh, these are the leftovers for the other pair of Helix knitting, so I just have them on hold for when I start the second sock. So those are all the plans for Socktober. And then I want to knit sweaters. And oh, I forgot to show this. My Project Linus blanket. I still have to weave in the couple of ends that are on it, but I finished it. Show it really quick. I didn't get to go to the meeting because it was Jonathan's birthday, and I wanted to spend the day with him because he was gone for a whole week. I'll get into that in a second. So I'm just saving this for the November meeting. I keep elbowing my bookcase back here. So that'll just get turned in, and then I have another blanket that I will finish for that. But I have sweaters on the brain. I want to knit all the socks. I want to knit socks for other people because I've mentioned before that I'm knitting socks and then I'm not wearing them. They just sit in my sock drawer, and that makes me a little sad to see them. I might hang them up and use them as an advent calendar for this year because there's enough that I have 24 single socks. I don't have 24 pairs, so there would be some doubles on there, but I might just do that just so that we can see them. But I have bought one thing, and technically it was for knitting, but it's nothing knitting related. But I've said before that, you know, I use a lot of sticky notes to take notes for, like, this has all my Socktober socks on it. Sorry, my other phone is kind of going off. My husband keeps messaging me. But I found these at Barnes & Noble, and I thought they were really, really cute, but it's a whole pad of sticky notes. So you have these here, just like the little flags. I use these to mark like what row I'm on, and then somebody bought some essential oil, so that's a total for somebody else. But I'll use these and I'll write all the numbers. Like, say I need to do 16 repeats for something, I'll write the numbers 1 through 16 and then cross off my repeats as I finish them, so then I can keep track of where I am for that. So this was on sale. This was at Barnes & Noble. All of their like office supply things and moleskin notebooks and stuff were 75% off. So I think I got this whole thing for $3 and some change, but I've already been using it. My one complaint is they're too sticky. So like when you pull it off, it curls the whole paper and then it sticks up on your paper. But I'm excited to use these instead of the plain ones on my knitting or on my pattern pages. Sorry, words are hard today. But those are really cute, and you know, who doesn't love unicorns? They're super, what a stereotypical girl thing, right? But my boys also love them too, and they want to take them and use them on things. So that's my one thing I bought for knitting. My husband kind of rolled his eyes when I said I was picking them up. So I think that is everything that is knitting related for today. I'm trying to keep these super short because I know you guys have things to do. I know I have things to do. If you just came for the knitting, thank you so much for coming. Like and subscribe. As usual, pass along the good word. Maybe eventually I'll have a giveaway. I did have a pattern donated that I could give away for you guys. So keep on the lookout for that. Maybe I'll do another mini-sode next week. I have like a really fun book that I want to share, a kid's book that has knitting stuff in it. And I'm hopefully getting a package soon with some sock yarn from Germany that I can show. But if you don't want to hear about what's going on in our life, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you want to hear what's been going on, then stay tuned. If you are here to see what's going on in my life, it's been kind of busy. My husband got promoted. He had his ceremony yesterday where you get to take off the old rank and put on the new rank. So the boys and I got to go to that, and it was a bittersweet moment for my husband because his grandfather did pass away, and his granddad has been more like a dad to him since he was a child. So it was really tough for him. He flew home for about a week to be with his family. And I'm sad about it too. He was a really great man, and it's sad. Sorry, my battery is almost dead. It's just really sad to know that he was gone. He had been sick for quite a while, so it wasn't a surprise by any means, but it's still a really hard thing to deal with when somebody passes away that you're really close to and you have really good memories with. So the one comforting thing that we can think about is that he's not suffering anymore, and I'm sure he's happy wherever he is now, that he doesn't have to be hooked up to oxygen tubes or anything like that. Our rental company is working on rectifying our insurance claim with all of our damaged equipment that happened with our AC leaking. If you listened before, our insurance company said we weren't covered for mold because you have to specifically ask for that coverage when you start a new policy. And since we didn't know that, we didn't ask for it. But the rental company is friends. Well, they know people higher up at the insurance company that we have. and they are working on getting it filed under water damage because it was damaged by water first. The sticks and bags and everything would have been damaged if mold had never been present, because a lot of the sticks are untreated wood. So, you know, when wood takes on water, it swells and it doesn't go back to its regular size. So unfortunately, that stuff had to be thrown away, but we also had black mold on a lot of other things. But like I said before, the water would have damaged it anyways. So we're hoping that filing it underneath the water damage, which I tried to do, they said I couldn't, but maybe our rental company has a little bit more say or something that will help us out. So we're hoping to get a little bit of monetary compensation for that, because it was 4 bags worth of mallets and sticks that my husband just doesn't use frequently, so that's why they were in the closet. But hopefully that'll get fixed, and we have been busy going to playgroups and Levi being in school. Halloween's coming up, so we're decorating for that. I made a very sad attempt outside with some of that stretchy spider web stuff, and it just kind of keeps all clumping because it's a very windy part. It's kind of almost like a wind tunnel effect. Whenever we have wind, it all just kind of collects by our front door. So all the spider web that I had stretched out clumped all together, and I'm not going to go out there and fix it. So it's just going to look the way it's going to look, unfortunately. But it was just kind of getting adjusted. John was gone for the week and then came back and then went back to work and promotion ceremony and everything. And other than that, it's just been regular, everyday stuff. Grocery shopping, taking care of children, knitting a whole lot. So I think that's pretty much it. Today's going to be a short episode. I'm sure I talked very fast because I've just under 37 minutes on taping on my phone. So I hope I didn't speak too fast for you guys. I hope to see you guys again. I hope you guys have a great rest of the week and a good weekend. And I hope to see you guys sooner than 2 weeks. Love you guys.